Most people believe that walking immediately starts burning fat the moment they take their very first step. It feels completely logical because your muscles start working and energy must come from somewhere right away. Since fat is stored energy, the assumption seems simple and easy to understand from the outside. Movement equals fat burning. That is what most of us have always believed without any question. But inside your body, something far more complex and surprising is actually taking place during movement. Fat cells do not instantly release stored energy the moment your very first step is taken. Instead, they respond to a sequence of signals that gradually unfold as you continue moving forward. This means something surprising that most people who walk regularly have never fully understood or considered. A 20-minute walk and a 60-minute walk create very different metabolic conditions inside your body. From the outside, both walks look almost completely identical in every possible observable way imaginable. Same sidewalk, same pace, same calm and steady rhythm of steps moving one after another forward. But deep inside your body, your fat cells may be behaving in completely different ways entirely. For many people, this hidden difference explains a frustration they have quietly carried for a long time. Someone may walk every single day for 20 minutes and still see almost no visible change at all. Weeks pass, sometimes even months pass, and results seem far slower than anyone had originally expected. This often leads to a familiar and deeply discouraging conclusion that so many frustrated people reach. Maybe they did not walk fast enough, or maybe they simply did not burn enough calories. Maybe their metabolism is just slow and their body is somehow working directly against their efforts. But the truth is that the problem is rarely about efforts or the lack of it. The problem is also not your body doing something wrong or broken in any fundamental way. Your metabolism is simply following a very specific biological sequence designed to manage energy efficiently, always. When your muscles begin moving, they first rely on the fuel that is easiest to access. Only later, as movement continues, does the body begin unlocking fat stored deep inside fat cells. Understanding this hidden biological sequence completely changes the way we think about walking as a daily habit. Once you see what happens inside fat cells during the first 20 minutes of movement, everything shifts. And what begins happening closer to 60 minutes is something your body was truly designed to do. Walking is not just simple exercise. It is a full metabolic conversation with your entire body. A conversation between your muscles, your hormones, and every single fat cell throughout your body. The longer that conversation continues, the more your body begins shifting steadily toward burning its stored fat. Fat is your body's largest stored energy reserve, and it is patiently waiting to be used. When people walk regularly but still struggle with belly fat, they often blame themselves quite unfairly. They assume their metabolism must be slow or their hormones are somehow completely out of balance. They believe they are simply not exercising hard enough and that they must push themselves much harder. This type of thinking is incredibly common and often leads people toward entirely the wrong solutions.
They walk faster, they walk more often, and sometimes add intense workouts hoping for real change. But in most cases, the real problem is simply a deep misunderstanding of how energy actually works. For years, fat loss advice has focused almost entirely on one single and oversimplified idea: calories. Burn more calories than you consume and fat will eventually disappear, or so we are told. Because walking burns calories, the assumption seems obvious that fat burning starts right away, immediately. But your body does not operate like a simple calorie counter that anyone can easily read. Your metabolism constantly chooses which type of fuel it should use to power your continuing movement. Even though energy is always being burned during movement, the actual source of that energy constantly changes. There are two primary fuels your body uses whenever you are moving or exercising in any way. The first fuel is glucose, the sugar that is already circulating in your bloodstream right now. Glucose can also be stored inside your muscles and your liver in a compact form called glycogen. This fuel can be accessed very quickly, which makes it ideal for immediate and urgent energy demands. The second fuel is fat, stored inside specialized cells throughout your body as very long-term energy reserves. Fat contains a truly massive amount of stored energy compared to the much smaller glucose supply available. But accessing fat requires a much more complex metabolic process than simply grabbing quick and easy glucose. Because of this key difference, your body almost always chooses to reach for glucose first. From a survival perspective, this makes perfect sense and has kept humans alive and thriving for centuries.
Quick fuel should always be used before tapping into the body's deeper and more protected energy reserves. This means that when you begin walking, your muscles do not immediately reach for fat at all. Instead, your muscles immediately reach for glucose and glycogen, the quick and easy energy already available. Your muscles simply choose the fuel that is easiest and fastest for them to access right now. This hidden preference clearly explains why shorter walks sometimes produce much slower and disappointing fat loss results. It is not because walking is ineffective at all, it is because your metabolism follows a sequence. That important sequence determines exactly what happens inside your fat cells at each different stage of movement. If the body does not begin burning fat immediately, what is actually stopping fat cells from opening? The hidden blocker in this entire process is a hormone most people already know well: insulin. Insulin plays a deeply critical role in how your body manages and distributes energy after every meal. After you eat, glucose from food enters your bloodstream and blood sugar levels begin rising noticeably. In response, your pancreas releases insulin to help move that glucose safely into your waiting cells. Under normal conditions, this entire system works smoothly and efficiently to keep your body perfectly balanced. Glucose rises, insulin responds, cells absorb energy, and blood sugar returns to a safe and normal level. But insulin has another very powerful effect that many people never fully realize or even think about. It sends a direct signal to fat cells, telling them to store energy rather than release it. When insulin levels are elevated inside your body, fat cells receive one very clear and powerful message. New fuel is available, so there is absolutely no need to unlock stored fat reserves right now. From your body's perspective, this is extremely logical and has been designed this way with great purpose. If fresh energy from food is already circulating, the body simply prefers to use that energy first. Even after insulin begins falling, the body still has another fast and convenient fuel source readily available. That fast fuel source is glycogen, stored sugar sitting patiently inside your muscles and your liver. When movement begins, your muscles quickly access glycogen because it converts into energy almost instantly when needed. This makes glycogen the clear and preferred fuel during the very early phase of all exercise. As long as glycogen remains plentiful and available, fat cells tend to remain completely closed off. Your muscles are still burning significant energy during this phase, and your heart rate rises steadily. Your breathing becomes deeper and more rhythmic, but the fuel powering all that movement is mostly sugar. This is exactly why shorter walks sometimes feel productive while still producing very limited and slow fat loss. Your body simply has not yet reached the stage where it genuinely needs to unlock stored fat. Fat cells are quietly waiting for a very specific signal from your body before they even open. They respond only when quick energy sources are no longer sufficient to fully meet your body's demands. That important moment usually arrives only after sustained movement continues long enough for the metabolic shift to begin. To understand how this powerful shift actually works, we need to look deeper inside fat cells themselves. Deep inside your body, fat cells quietly store energy in compact molecules called triglycerides every single day. Each triglyceride is made of 3 fatty acids joined together, forming a tight and compact bundle of fuel. For most of the day, these triglycerides remain safely and quietly locked inside fat cells as reserves. The body treats them as backup energy, meant only for when faster fuel sources begin running low. When walking begins, muscles immediately demand fuel, and that urgent demand is felt throughout your entire body. At first, that fuel comes mostly from glucose and glycogen, while fat cells remain relatively quiet. But as walking continues and your muscles keep working, something deeply important begins changing inside you. Glycogen stores gradually begin to deplete as the continuous demand for energy keeps steadily building up. The body starts recognizing that quick fuel sources will not last forever if movement keeps continuing. This critical shift activates a new set of biochemical signals, specifically designed to unlock deeply stored energy. One of the most important signals involves a special enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase inside your fat cells. This enzyme acts like a tiny key that specifically unlocked stored triglycerides inside fat cells for release. When activated, it begins breaking triglycerides apart into individual fatty acids and smaller glycerol components efficiently. Once separated, these fatty acids are released from fat cells and enter your bloodstream to travel freely. From there, they begin traveling through your blood vessels toward your hardworking and demanding muscles below. Inside each muscle cell are tiny, powerful structures called mitochondria that function like microscopic cellular power plants. These incredible structures convert nutrients arriving through your bloodstream into usable energy your muscles desperately need.
When fatty acids arrive at the mitochondria, they undergo a remarkable biological process called fat oxidation. During this process, fatty acids are gradually broken down in the presence of oxygen to release energy. This released energy then powers the muscle contractions that keep your legs moving forward with every step. Compared with glucose, fat oxidation produces a slower but far more sustained and reliable supply of energy. This is exactly why fat becomes such a critically important fuel source during longer periods of walking. But the entire fat-burning system activates gradually. It does not simply switch on all at once. During the early minutes of walking, only a very small portion of total energy actually comes from fat. As movement continues and glycogen demand keeps rising, the body slowly but surely shifts toward greater fat use. More triglycerides are broken down inside fat cells, and more fatty acids enter your bloodstream continuously. Muscles begin absorbing more of these fatty acids, while mitochondria steadily increase their rate of fat oxidation. This gradual and powerful shift explains why a 20-minute walk differs so dramatically from a 60-minute walk. During a shorter walk, most of the energy still comes entirely from glucose and stored glycogen reserves. But during a longer walk, the body finally has sufficient time to fully activate its fat metabolism. Fat cells begin releasing more stored energy, while muscles begin relying heavily on that steady and sustainable fuel. From the outside, both walks look completely identical in pace, effort, and overall physical appearance to everyone. But inside your body, the entire fuel system has shifted from quick energy to long-term stored energy.
That powerful internal shift is what genuinely allows walking to gradually and meaningfully influence your fat stores. When people begin extending their walking time, the first changes inside the body often feel surprisingly subtle. Someone used to 20 minutes may decide to walk 40 or 60 minutes, expecting fast and visible results. But the body rarely changes quickly, and the transition unfolds far more gradually than most people expect. During the early phase of longer walks, the metabolic system is still slowly transitioning between different fuel sources. Glycogen continues providing energy, while fat metabolism is only just beginning to slowly increase its total contribution. For someone whose body has relied heavily on glucose for years, something very important must be understood clearly. The pathways responsible for fat oxidation may not yet be highly active or particularly efficient at first. Muscles are very efficient at burning sugar quickly, but fat-burning enzymes may not have been used often. This means the first stage of longer walking can genuinely feel like a slow and gradual transition period. Energy is still being burned, and your muscles are still working hard throughout every single step forward. But your body is gradually shifting its fuel preference rather than switching between fuel sources all at once. During the first 20 minutes, glucose and glycogen still provide the large majority of your movement energy. As the walk continues beyond that point, fat metabolism slowly begins increasing its growing contribution to energy. Fat cells must release fatty acids, and those fatty acids must travel through your entire bloodstream first.
Muscles must then absorb those traveling fatty acids, and mitochondria must then oxidize them to produce usable energy. Each important step in this entire chain requires time to activate and additional time to reach full efficiency. At first, fat contributes only a very small portion of the total energy used during your movement. But as walking continues, the proportion of fat being burned slowly and steadily increases throughout the session. This is why longer walks feel noticeably different from shorter ones in a very real and tangible way. Your body settles into a calm and steady rhythm that shorter walks simply never have time to reach. Breathing becomes more consistent and smooth, and energy production feels much less rushed and more effortless overall. Instead of relying on quick sugar bursts, the body begins producing a steady and reliable stream of energy.
This gradual transition explains clearly why short walks sometimes fail to produce the fat loss people expect. The metabolic shift towards significant fat burning simply has not had enough time to fully develop yet. But once walking continues long enough for this important shift to occur, everything begins changing inside you. With repeated longer walking sessions becoming consistent, the body begins adapting in ways that improve fat metabolism significantly. These quiet changes happen inside muscle cells, enzymes, and energy pathways very deep within your body. But over weeks and months, these small, quiet changes completely transform how your body uses fuel during movement. One of the most important adaptations from regular, longer walking occurs directly inside your working muscle cells. When muscles are repeatedly and consistently exposed to longer activity, they improve their ability to process fatty acids.
Enzymes responsible for breaking down fat become significantly more active and work far more efficiently than before. This allows muscles to convert incoming fatty acids into usable energy much faster than they previously could. At the same time, both the number and efficiency of mitochondria inside muscle cells begin increasing noticeably. Mitochondria are the powerful structures fully responsible for producing energy from all the nutrients your body absorbs. When fat metabolism becomes consistently more active, your body responds by strengthening these tiny cellular power plants. More mitochondria means your body becomes genuinely better at converting fatty acids into usable daily energy smoothly. This remarkable process is sometimes called mitochondrial adaptation, and it happens slowly but very powerfully over time. Over time, this important adaptation allows muscles to rely far more heavily on fat during all sustained movement. Instead of depending mainly on glucose, your body becomes increasingly comfortable and confident using fat as fuel. Another very important change occurs in how your body regulates the specific hormones involved in fat metabolism. As walking becomes a truly regular daily habit, insulin levels throughout the day gradually become more stable. Lower and more stable insulin levels make it considerably easier for fat cells to release stored energy freely. At the same time, hormones that actively promote fat breakdown become more effective at activating fat cells. Epinephrine and norepinephrine both become more responsive during movement when walking is practiced as a regular habit. This continually improving hormonal environment makes your fat cells far more responsive whenever longer walks occur consistently.
Your body also gradually becomes more flexible in how it chooses which fuel source to rely on. This powerful concept is known as metabolic flexibility, and it is one of the most valuable adaptations possible. A metabolically flexible body can switch smoothly and efficiently between burning glucose and burning fat as needed. During shorter, more intense activity, glucose may still dominate as the primary and most readily available fuel. But during longer, steady walking, fat metabolism gradually becomes the dominant and primary fuel source being used. With repeated, consistent exposure to longer walking sessions, this valuable metabolic flexibility continues improving significantly over time. The body becomes genuinely better and faster at accessing its deeply stored energy reserves when movement continues. Fat cells release their stored fatty acids more readily, and muscles absorb those fatty acids more efficiently. Mitochondria convert fatty acids into usable energy more smoothly and reliably with every single week that passes. Over time, walking itself begins to feel noticeably different from how it felt when you very first started. Instead of relying on short, quick energy bursts, your body settles into a calm and reliable, steady rhythm. Once this important metabolic adaptation develops fully, the effects of walking extend far beyond the walk itself. As your body becomes increasingly efficient at using stored fat for energy, the benefits begin multiplying everywhere. The metabolic changes that develop through longer walking sessions gradually influence many important systems throughout your entire body. One of the earliest and most noticeable changes people report is a meaningful difference in their daily energy.
When your body relies heavily on glucose, energy tends to rise and fall very quickly throughout each day. After meals, blood sugar rises rapidly, providing a short and fleeting burst of energy that quickly fades. As glucose levels fall later, familiar fatigue and strong cravings for quick energy-dense food often appear suddenly. When fat metabolism becomes consistently more active, your body gains access to a much larger and stabler energy reserve. Fat provides fuel slowly and very steadily, rather than in the sharp spikes that glucose creates after eating. Instead of depending on frequent blood sugar spikes, your body can now maintain steady energy for much longer. This important shift often leads to more consistent and reliable energy levels throughout every part of your day. Another deeply important benefit of improved fat metabolism involves your appetite patterns and your everyday food cravings. Large fluctuations in blood sugar can trigger very intense and difficult to ignore hunger signals throughout each day. When glucose drops quickly, your brain may interpret this drop as an urgent and immediate signal to eat. This interpretation leads directly to those familiar cravings for sugar and refined carbohydrates that feel so irresistible. But when fat metabolism improves and your energy becomes genuinely stable, these sharp blood sugar swings decrease. Hunger becomes more predictable and manageable, while cravings become noticeably less frequent and far less intense overall. This makes it much easier to maintain balanced and consistent eating without constantly battling overwhelming and sudden cravings. Longer walking sessions can also powerfully and meaningfully influence how your body stores and manages excess energy.
When blood sugar remains elevated and muscles are inactive, excess energy tends to be stored easily as fat. But when muscles regularly absorb fuel during sustained movement, less excess energy circulates freely in your blood. This creates a metabolic environment that is far less favorable for continued and unnecessary fat storage over time. Over time, this important ongoing shift supports gradual and genuinely sustainable changes in your overall body composition. But perhaps the most powerful effect of this entire understanding is not physical at all. It is psychological. Many people who struggle with stubborn belly fat begin believing their body is somehow fundamentally broken inside. They feel as though their metabolism is actively working against every single genuine effort they make daily. They try harder, restrict more foods, and sometimes push into intense workouts that are very hard to sustain. But once you truly understand how your body actually uses energy during movement, that deep fear begins fading. Your body is not resisting fat loss, it is simply following its biological sequence exactly as designed. Shorter movement relies on quick fuel, while longer sustained movement naturally and effectively unlocks deeper energy reserves. Once this biological sequence becomes genuinely clear, walking stops feeling like a frustrating and unpredictable daily effort. Instead, it becomes a reliable and predictable metabolic tool that works beautifully with your body's own natural design. Most people give up on walking before their body ever reaches the important 60-minute metabolic shift point. They stop at 20 minutes, feel like nothing's happening inside, and gradually begin walking much less.
But what they do not realize is how incredibly close they actually were to the real meaningful change. The metabolic shift happens gradually, but it always does happen, and every longer walk brings it closer. Your body is never doing nothing during a walk, even before fat burning has fully started yet. Insulin is quietly adjusting, glycogen is steadily depleting, and hormones are slowly preparing your fat cells for release. Every minute of movement beyond 20 is your body getting measurably closer to unlocking its stored energy reserves. This is not a small or insignificant detail. It is the most important thing about walking and fat. Once you know this truth, you walk differently, with more patience, more trust, and much more purpose. You no longer watch the clock waiting for the walk to be finished as quickly as possible. Instead, you think about where your body sits in its metabolic sequence, and you simply keep moving. That important shift in daily mindset alone can be the real difference between fat loss and continued frustration. Consistency truly beats intensity when it comes to walking and building lasting fat metabolism over any long period. A person walking 60 minutes daily builds far more metabolic flexibility than someone doing only short, intense bursts. Because fat metabolism needs sustained, moderate movement over longer durations to fully activate and operate at peak efficiency. Walking is uniquely and perfectly suited by evolution to trigger exactly this type of deep fat-burning response. Your ancestors did not sprint everywhere. They walked, often for many hours, and their bodies stayed lean. That same brilliant metabolic design lives completely intact inside you right now, waiting to be properly activated again.
Nothing about your body is broken or working against you.
It is simply waiting for longer movement. When you walk long enough, your body does exactly and precisely what it was brilliantly designed to do. Fat cells open, fatty acids travel, muscles absorb, mitochondria convert, and energy flows smoothly and consistently throughout. It is one of the most elegant and effective biological systems ever designed, and it lives inside you. At this deeper point of understanding, something quiet but truly significant begins changing in how you see walking. It is no longer just a simple activity meant to burn a few extra and easy calories. Walking becomes a powerful way of communicating directly and meaningfully with your own metabolism each and every day. Every single step you take sends important signals rippling through your entire body in deeply meaningful ways. Your muscles contract, your circulation increases, your hormones begin adjusting, and your enzymes start preparing energy pathways. And when walking continues long enough, your fat cells finally receive the signal they have been patiently waiting for. Stored energy is now needed, and so triglycerides begin breaking apart and fatty acids enter your bloodstream. Muscles begin eagerly absorbing those fatty acids, and mitochondria steadily begin converting them into smooth and reliable energy. Over consistent time, this process quietly and powerfully changes the entire relationship you have with your own body. Instead of feeling like someone always fighting against stubborn fat, you begin feeling something genuinely and deeply different. You begin feeling like someone who truly understands how their own metabolism actually works and naturally responds.
Walking becomes part of a comfortable daily rhythm rather than a frustrating obligation you force yourself to complete. You eat, you move, your muscles begin using the available energy circulating freely through your bloodstream. Your body gradually and naturally unlocks the stored fuel it has been quietly holding inside fat cells. Weeks pass and then months pass, and the small daily signals from longer walks steadily begin adding up. Your metabolism becomes more flexible, your daily energy becomes more stable, and fat cells become increasingly responsive. Walking itself begins to feel lighter, easier, and far more naturally sustainable with every single passing week. Instead of depending on quick glucose bursts, your body learns to reliably and confidently rely on fat fuel. Movement begins to feel calmer, more natural, and something you can genuinely and joyfully look forward to daily. This is where the future version of yourself very quietly and very steadily begins to take real shape. Someone who understands that lasting fat loss is not about forcing the body to burn more calories. It is about creating the right conditions that allow your body to access its stored energy naturally. And the most important and grounding realization in all of this is actually surprisingly and beautifully simple. Your body was never designed to burn fat instantly the very moment you begin walking or moving. For most of human history, people walked long distances every single day while gathering food and traveling. The human metabolism evolved specifically to shift gradually from quick fuel to long-term stored energy during movement. Walking longer simply recreates the exact biological environment where fat metabolism can become genuinely and fully active. When you understand this deeply and clearly, walking becomes something far more meaningful than ordinary daily exercise. It becomes a daily signal that teaches and reminds your metabolism exactly how to access the energy inside. So the next time you go out for a walk, remember that something truly powerful is happening beneath. Your muscles are moving, your metabolism is steadily adjusting, and something very important is quietly unfolding inside you. Your body is actively learning, slowly adapting, and carefully unlocking the energy stored inside your waiting fat cells. And with every longer walk you take, that beautiful process becomes more efficient, more powerful, and more natural. The walk that feels entirely ordinary on the outside is absolutely anything but ordinary deep on the inside. Every single step you take is a meaningful conversation your body has been patiently and quietly waiting to have.